All right. How you doing, everyone? This is Grash, and I am going to be commentating today for you for FP1. Um, as you can see on the timing chart already, we've got again five rookies in. We've got you see Pedro Federelli driving down at Haas. Logan Sargent is at Williams today. Jack Doonan in for Alpine. AlphaTauri is Liam Lawson, and then Nick DeVries is back in is at Mercedes. So um, one of the other interesting things is that FP2 today is another um, tire test for Pirelli. So we're going to see a lot of work done in this session because of the wackiness that we're going to see in the FP at FP2. Yes, Jose, this is Grash. So again, let me introduce myself. My name is Grash Riza. I am a mod here on the YouTube channel. I'm filling in for everyone, it looks like. And we're going to see this is my first time streaming, so here to give you guys information, highlight things, what's going on. Just so you know about me, basically I'm from the United States. I live in the northeast section called New England. Specifically I'm in the state of Connecticut right now. uh, but basically, I'm professionally, I'm a game developer. So that I deal with a lot of data. So I process a lot of data as a developer, so I can give you guys that data as well. Yeah, fine New England, unless you don't count the New England Patriots. We can talk about football another time and the QB controversy we have. So Sky and F1 are just starting their broadcast right now. They're going over the track, and there are three DR zones in on the track that we're dealing with right now. So, if you guys have any questions, you guys can just at me in chat. I will see it. I'll try and get to as fast as possible. Right now, they're using the C4, C3, and the C2 compounds for the soft, medium, hards, respectively. So the middle three compounds. And if you guys can do a big favor for the stream, like if you guys give it a like, more people will see it. I know there's about 475 of you watching right now, so if we can get even like a few of you to, that would be a big help. So I think FP1 is about to start in about a minute, and then again, I think the big thing that everyone's talking about is right now the Red Bull cost cap. And from what I've read so far, and I haven't read everything, but basically Red Bull's got a $7 million fine. Now, um, this is a fine not against cap, so it's just $7 million just paid out as a penalty. A 10 reduction in development time, and that includes wind tunnel time, and that's a big that the development time and the wind tunnel time are the big two. That's the stick in the terms of the penalty that Red Bull's getting. And that's one of those like people are looking at it in terms of in terms of the last year, this year. So how the rules are set up essentially is last year's already settled. The breach is on this year. Um, and so it's a fine technically for this year, but it's going to carry over to next year because essentially the season's over right now. So basically they can fine them for next year. So we're not going to see anything in terms of, changes of points or that if that were to happen, had they again, the overspend was like about 1.6. So, and it could have been, and in the FBI also acknowledged attack credit had been correctly applied, it would have been 0.37%. So we're in that 5% range. So we weren't looking at them being thrown out of the major, the thrown out of the championship. That's 1.6%. That's about equivalent of 2.2 million, Davy. We had someone asking me about How did I learn about F1? I've always known about F1. It's always been like, oh, one of the racing things. Um, Particularly last year during the pandemic, I started watching specifically Super GT. Went from Super GT to TM Marduk, and then somehow found this timing channel. And that's got me really into F1. From there, I was like reading all the articles on F1, and that's what one of the things that F1 is really doing really well is introducing concepts and technical pieces to everyone through the YouTube data, different articles on the website, and that really got me into things going. And again, on top of that, we had Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton going at it. So that's what really got me into F1, deep into F1 last year. Um, and it's just grown. This year, I've been following IndyCar. I've been following some NASCAR to a distance. Um, Learned about INSA and understand INSA and Le Mans. So we're getting the first cars onto track right now. We've got Vettel setting a P1 for Pauly, Gervais, Zhao, and Bottas in that order right now. It's still early, so give it a moment for times to settle in. I know the map right now is not processing. So here's what's going on. Every time we go to a new track, that map has to be calibrated, and it takes most of FP1 to get that map up and going. This is not something that we're doing, and we're using a third party map. The map is provided by a third party, and we're waiting for them to calibrate the map, and it usually um, takes until like the end of like the last 15 minutes of FP1 for that map to come online. So don't worry about the map right now. We know that is issues with it, and like right now everyone's in one spot. That's not the case. And we got Ricardo setting a time in P1 with 1:25.867, which is the first fast lap we saw out there. And again, yes, FP2 is going to be a tire session, so it's going to be 90 minutes. And so we're going to see a weird mix of people running. If it's like the tire session in Austin, basically everyone's will be driving one of two tires unless they're one of the five drivers who are not in this session right now. So we've got Norris coming in P2 about 1.5-ish slower than Ricardo, and Schumacher coming in at 1.26. Gasly coming in 1 point. There we go. Gasly coming in closer now. So we are having rookies test today. So DeVries, Doonan, Fittipaldi, Lawson, and Sargent are all here to and this is a regulation that was put in place this year. So every team has to run a rookie twice in their car. So one for each driver has to be out for a session for an FP1 session each year. For this year, I should say. And I think that has um, brought attention and experience to these drivers that are needed. I said DeVries. If I'm not pronouncing anything correctly, please say in chat how I should be saying in a phonetic way. Um, I'm not perfect, only human. So in the moment now, we've now had change at the top. We've got Verstappen, Perez, Stroll, and Sainz going 1, 2, 3, 4. With Verstappen, Perez now getting into the 123s. Verstappen, we'll say 7/10 faster. than Perez. All right, thank you, Bob, for telling me I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Yeah, again, if I butcher anyone's name, just yell at me in chat and tell me, hey, this is how it's said. So it looks like Leclerc had a puncher, and he's back in the pits for them to take a look at that. Gunther has, and this is stuff coming off of the F1 feed on their website. Basically, the track is dirty, and so they're learning about the tires as much as possible. That's what quote Hunter. So notably, Logan Sargent is important here because he is an American. Um, we're in in the North American section, so he's racing. He's testing today with an American flag on the side of his helmet. Again, right now the map is in calibration during FP1, so you're not going to see cars running around it until that gets done. This has to be done for every single race, um, and that's basically it's going to take most of this session for the get that into place. So it will some magically start working. 10 minutes left in the session. Again, I am a new commentator on the channel. My name is Grash. I'm from the United States, and this is my first time commentary for you guys live. So it looks like Liam Lawson is back in the pits, specifically because he's struggling with his brakes. There and there's something more going on than him just struggling with the brakes. There's something going on with the car. But from chat, Bob is saying that looks like Sargent also needs to do 100 kilometers in an FP to get the needed super license point. They're awarded 100 kilometers for every, a point for every 100 kilometers they cut, and that's important. Again, yes, this is Grash, and I am commentary for you guys today. I'm in basically I live in the United States, so this is a good time for me to be able to commentate for you guys. Everyone else, like Farrell's at work, other people are they're just in looking at 7 p.m. past in UK and later as we go across the European continent. Yeah, Brandon, sure. I will go over that one more time for you. So we have 5 rookies. We've got Pedro Fittipaldi driving Haas. He's their reserve driver. Logan Sargent, FP driver at Williams, potential to be F1 if he gets the super license. Jack Doonan, driving Alpine. Jack Doonan's an F2 driver. AlphaTauri has Liam Lawson. I'm not sure who he is. And then Nick DeVries at Mercedes. DeVries is going to be driving for AlphaTauri next year. I'm just looking through if I missed any questions in chat right now, guys. If you have any questions for me or questions about what's going on track, you guys can just at me. I will put myself. So Mexico City is in what we would call the central time zone. I'm in Eastern, so I'm about an hour ahead. So it is 2:12 for me p.m. So it's 1 p.m. track time. Qualifying tomorrow is going to be at 3 p.m. track time. So 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. The race is going to be at 2 p.m. track time, 3 p.m. Eastern. So right now we've got Fittipaldi making his way around the track. Again, Pedro is part of the Fittipaldi family. Over here in the United States, Fittipaldi is actually very well known for being winning in IndyCar. What was IndyCar at the time? That is a good observation. That everyone is on hards. And it may be that they're testing tires right now for the most part. For the rookie drivers, I mean, it could be that they just want to get these guys on a tire that's going to last long. So for example, like Sargent, Doonan, getting those, they need to go the distance for that super license point. Yeah, and again, the tire test is going to be in FP2, not right now. So this is going to be a standard session with these again with 5 rookies in for different drivers. No, Mexico's not south of the equator. Um, the equator goes through kind of like Brazil. So it is north of the equator. The one thing, because we are in Mexico City, one thing that is in play here is that Mexico City is about 2 kilometers above sea level. That is considerably much higher, and because as we get higher from sea level, there's less air. So that's one of the things that's in play here is that there the how most of the cars handle that is that they're using their turbochargers to push in more air. And historically, the Red Bull Honda engines actually have been better at doing that. So that lack of air it's gonna come into play. It will again affects aerodynamics still because there's less air. Cars will be technically a little bit faster because there's less air they have to push out of the way. Um, and this, there's all sorts of, if you'll look into other sports, like there's so many records that have been set here, particularly in the Mexican Olympics from, oh man, I want to say from the 70s, 60s or 70s. They held the Olympics here, and all sorts of records were broken because of elevation. So we're getting to about the first quarter of this session in. And on top of the board, we've got Verstappen at a time of 1.22, Perez at a time 1.26, Alonso just setting P3, Gasly taking it back, both in the 123s with Bottas, Sainz, Ricardo, and Norris. We've got Hamilton, Zhao, Latifi's in the 124 tours. And then a grab bag of doing now setting a time in 124s, and then dropping off significantly down below. So far, I know Vettel, Lawson, and Leclerc may have times on the timing sheet, but right now they are not listed as having times on the F1 timing. Well, I'm seeing from the F1 feed. Vettel looks like he's coming out for an outlap right now. So is Lawson. Stroll on an outlap. Science Bottas coming out of the pits. So while we wait for some new results to come in, other news going on. Aston Martin basically was fined uh, $450,000 for a procedural breach of their budget cap. So basically, again, a procedural breach basically means some sort of paperwork was not done properly. Williams in May had a procedural breach, and it basically was one of the subgroups that the Williams group owns. Essentially, didn't file paperwork on time, and that was the procedural breach. So there's something going on here. The Asron didn't do something right. Um, it's not an over cost. It's a breach of the cost cap, but it's not an overspending breach of the cost cap, and that's something we need to be very clear about. Again, for those of you who are just who arrived in the past like 5-10 minutes or so, my name is Grash. I am streaming for the first time on Racing Statistics. I'm in for basically everyone else who couldn't show up. I'm an American, so that's why I'm able to do this and everyone else can't because they're over either working or doing something else at this time. So I'm in. So unfortunately, I have Sky. So in the United States, Sky broadcasts on ESPN. So I've got that's I'm watching ESPN broadcasting Sky, and unfortunately, Sky has just gone to a commercial break. So if something happens in the next like 2 minutes, I'm not going to see it on track until they come back. So basically, it's I'm going to be looking at times and taking your questions right now as I wait for it. And I appreciate you guys telling me that I'm doing a great job and giving me that support. That's awesome for you guys. If you guys can, drop in chat where you're at and what time it is, that'd be cool. Get to see. I'm curious to see where people are coming in from. Again, it's about 2:20 in the afternoon for me, and I'm up in New England, specifically the state of Connecticut. I've lived in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Uh, Again, if you guys, the biggest city closest to me is Boston. I'm where I am right now. I'm equally distanced from about equally distanced from between Boston and New York City. So seeing people from DC, Belgium, Toronto, South Africa, Denver. You guys a lot of Poland, South Africa. You guys a lot of times late at night for you guys. Yeah, Roy. The money they went over. That's one of. There's like three different categories of concern as I read of what's going on, and again they were talking about a few $100,000, and we're talking probably a few 100,000 each of one of those categories, and that's easily can bring up to that 2.2 million. You've seen people from Netherlands, Montreal, India, so one saying a country in the European Union, so that means King Couture, you're not in the UK. I see someone watching for Atlantis. I did not know there was internet down underneath the sea. Got people from Nashville, Sweden, Pakistan, more people from Denmark. 3:22. I'm assuming that's AM since you're from Japan. People from Vietnam, Korea, Zambia. So it's awesome to see that that we're seeing a global community here, guys. Um, I'm honored to be your commentator for today for this session. So in the last few minutes, we're looking at the timing board. We've got Verstappen coming in at 122.29, Perez 122.67, and Sainz coming in at 122.7. So we're into the 122s now. Bottas, Gatly, Vettel, and Alonso, Ricardo, Stroll, Norris in the 123s. Sainz just set that time for the 122. So Leclerc just set a new fastest time of 121. He's just now about half a second faster than Verstappen's time. Um, Basically, these cars are completely different new cars. That's the only thing we can say. Um, they work completely different. Um, they work completely different with because they've got the downforce going on. That's something that they had banned. So the downforce this year is new, and it had been banned for almost like 30 years. It was banned in the 1980s, basically. And so we're in a when we talk about a completely new era, it is a completely new era. So what I saw last year and what I'm seeing this year with these cars, it's night and day. It's just it's just there it is completely new. It's not an iteration on the car. Yeah, the ground effect was thank you for correcting me. That's basically was banned for for 40 years, and now ground effect is a major player, and that Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, these are completely new. I mean, they're completely different cars. Um, they're more in common. The car this year to the car last year has more in common than, say, an Indy car. Basically, I mean, that's how different they are. We've got Schumacher hitting P2 on the board right now with a 121.9. Um, Notice the clerk when he set his fast lap. Sector 2 and sector 3 were purple for him. Again, we do have the map up, but the map we're waiting for it to calibrate to kick into gear. It usually takes all of FP1 for that map to calibrate. So you won't see it for another 15-20 minutes if we're lucky. It may not even come on for F1 for this F1 FP1 session. Looking for different any information to provide you guys right now. We're hitting close to the halfway mark right now. We've got Leclerc, Schumacher, Verstappen, Perez, and Sainz all under 122, with Schumacher and Leclerc in the 121s. We have, in terms of the rookies, we've got Lawson in P11 right now with a 125. So that's the best. Well, now P12. We've got Zhao jumping up to P3. But Lawson now P12, 125. That's like the fastest of the rookies so far, it looks like. Times on the board are a little jumbled. Doing looks like it may have done a 124, DeVries 125, Sargent a 126, and probably a 126 as well. Again, JV, these are the rookies that are in for other drivers, and so um, per just how we handle things is that when a rookie driver, when there's a replacement coming in this way, um, just a replacement for a session. Their name is capitalized, and you see their first, the initial of their first name, and then your last name. And we keep them white. And that's just how we handle things here. Red Bull. Let's go back over the cost cap again. First, so basically one of the things that came across is in the agreement is that Red Bull did not deliberately go out of their way to try and breach cost cap with malice or intent. Um, basically, Red Bull did everything they could to stay within the cost cap, but didn't, and so they weren't trying to cheat. That's the big thing I want to get across. That's the first thing. They will get a $7 million fine. This is not. This is just $7 million. Doesn't apply to the cap or anything else. It's just $7 million. There's a 10% reduction in car development time, and that includes wind tunnel time. So that's where the teeth of their penalty coming in. We know the breach was about $2.2 million or 1.6%. So that's why we're not seeing bigger that's why we're not seeing a bigger penalty, because they're in that minor breach category, which is in 5%. Um, we also know Aston Martin breached the cap, and they have been fined $450,000 for a procedural breach. Now, when we talk about breaches, there is overspending, and then there are procedural. Overspending is what it is. You overspent. Procedural is basically you didn't file paperwork correctly in some way. And so ultimately, and I'm not sure, I haven't found out what exactly they didn't do correctly, but there's some paperwork that wasn't filed correctly. We know in May which has been revealed, Williams had breached the cost cap procedurally, and that basically was one of the subunits that of the Williams owners didn't file paperwork, and didn't file it on time, and that was corrected. But Williams did take a fine. It was significantly less fine. I think it was like 150 to 200,000, something very small fine. Definitely half. So what Aston Martin did here is probably a considerably bigger breach for the amount they have. Yeah, so Davey's bringing up a good point here. So as we stand right now, the World Driver Championship was what Max Verstappen is the world champion. That was established in Suzuka 2 races ago. Last race in Austin, Red Bull wrapped up the Constructors Championship. So those are off the board. Um, Looks like we had a moment when someone probably spun. I will see it in a moment. We had a yellow flag for a moment. Um, so what's basically on the table right now, for Red Bull? Basically, what's going on with Red Bull basically is just Verstappen basically breaking the number of races total. He's got 13 wins. He needs one more to break that record. So that's what's on the table right now. So there really isn't a lot to play for in terms of either championship. So you're going to see a lot of teams taking bigger risks because there's less at stake here. Um, Here we go. See, science has now set a new P1 with a 120. So now we're into the 120s. Um, Science Leclerc, Alonso now in the 120s. Yeah, now we've got Alpine McLaren fight for fourth. Thanks for bringing that up. So we've got some fights down low. We've got technically, I would with how Ferrari is performing, there's a fight. There's potentially a fight for P2 between them and Mercedes if things go wrong for Ferrari and good for Mercedes. Again, fight for third, fourth, Alpine and McLaren. Yeah, so I'm seeing the replay of Max's spin. He basically just lost the back, um, and just turned backwards. He did not hit the wall or anything, so it's just a matter of just putting on new tires for him. So a tweet from Pirelli Motorsport, basically, quote, everyone starting on FP1 on the hard tire suggests the teams will be focused on the softer compounds for the rest of the weekend. So that's from Pirelli, giving what they think is going on, because everyone started on the hard tires. So a few minutes ago, Ricardo ended up into the garage, and his team is investigating an issue. So he's out of the car, um, and they're looking at something. No word if he's going to return or not to this session. Yeah, Magnuson's contract is a multi-year contract, so That is something to keep into. So he's going to be with Haas for several years. Yeah, when we talk about the drivers market, the only seat that's left right now is the Haas seat. It's a matter of, is Schumacher going to keep it or they're going to replace him? The Williams seat is, for the most part, wrapped up with Logan Sargent, um, under the condition that he gets enough points for a super license, and that basically he needs to get I think P6 in FP2 or higher at the end of the rank P6 or higher in the league at the end of it to get those points. So it's not done deal, but it's pretty close. So there's something going on with Zhao. He's stopped. So something happened with Zhao's car. I don't know exactly what, but he's passed a point on the track. There's a white line that he's passed. And that means that that they can't send marshals out to get it without doing a yellow or a red flag. I think we are in a yellow flag session right now. I know we're not updated on the stream just yet. And again, if I'm watching the F1 stream right now, and they haven't said that it's a yellow flag scenario. It does say that it's yellow. It's not red flag yet. Okay. So you guys are saying another incident is happening that's causing a red flag. Yep. Okay. So we are in a red flag session now. Hi, Daniel. So in the last 2 minutes or so, Zhao stopped on the exit lane out of the pits, and he got pulled back. While that was happening, Fittipaldi basically got stranded on track in the Haas, and now we're in a red flag scenario. He managed to get off. He is technically off the track. He managed to get past the green line, but he's like really close to it. I don't know if Fittipaldi crashed or if something. It doesn't look like he crashed because he's like lined up nicely on the side of the road. So I just want to just give you guys heads up. We don't allow any links or discussion in regards illegal streaming. We're not your tech support. We don't care. We expect you to be an adult and be able to watch F1 in a legal, proper way. So, Sophie, it is a red flag right now because the car that Fittipaldi's in is stopped on the side of the track and needs to be recovered. And in a practice session, it just becomes a red flag. So F1 the F1 website basically is saying that it's likely a power unit from the back of Magnussen's car. That's the car that Fittipaldi is driving right now. So it's not anything Fittipaldi did. Yeah, no, it's an issue where anything that would have caused a yellow, like of the car on track stopped anywhere, they're going to red flag it as opposed to using a yellow flag in practice. Just seems how they're going lately is that they will just throw out the red flag to get the car back. Um, and that's just basically how that's going. Um, in qualifying, they will use the red flag because that means it will stop the timer. Unlike here, the timer is going to continue. So we will probably have about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes left when they restart. We're in that probably in that range is my best guess. So we're about right. Again, we've got some time to wait as they get the car off the track. Um, so let's look at the board one more time. In the 120s, we've got five. We've got Sainz 127, Clerk 127.5, Perez 120.82, Verstappen same time 182. For Verstappen getting Perez getting the nudge over Verstappen for some reason. Alonso 120.88.99. So those are the 120s. We've got several in the 121s. Bottas, Norris, Gasly, Vettel, Zhou, Stroll, Schumacher, and then we've got a big jump with Latifi in the one. No, Latifi is 122. Then Ricardo 123, Lawson 123, Hamilton 124, and then the rookies doing rise Sergeant Fittipaldi. Uh, King Rolling Studios, thank you for the chat. Saying now if I had a nickel every time my Haas caused a red flag in FP session, I'd have 3 nickels, which is a lot, but it's weird. It's happened 3 times this year. It feels like it would be more for some reason than just 3. Um, and as we now get coming back, we have the map. We have Vettel, Sargent, Lawson, Stroll, and Schumacher on track right now. Unfortunately, I am waiting for Sky to get back from ads. Hooray, ESPN for using Sky Sports. Gasly is now on track. So, so it looks like Daniel is jumping into his car right now, and about a minute ago, he probably jumped in his car. Will be out soon. And Dakota, it was Fittipaldi driving um, Kevin's car. So that's the So one of the things is that they'll probably be changing his power. So the car that Kevin Magnussen is driving will likely have a power units change as soon as they get the car in the shop. Um, Again, let's just go over. We are at about the last quarter of the session. So those of you who have arrived just recently, we do have 5 rookies on the track right now. Fittipaldi is driving, well, was driving for the Haas until the Haas engine blew. Logan Sargent is in the Williams car, Jack Noonan driving an Alpine, Liam Lawson in an AlphaTauri car, and then Nick DeVries driving Mercedes. And has confirmed that the engine, was the power unit that caused an early end to Petra's session. He was doing well on track, not necessarily pushing the car, but I wouldn't say he was, you know, he's doing okay, not necessarily great. Hence why he's still the reserve driver. So looking on a fast lap, we'll keep an eye on how he's doing. So, a question from chat: what is an outlap? So basically, an outlap is when a car comes out of the pits. That's considered the outlap. It's that first lap coming out of the pit lane. So it's not they're not on a complete lap. So they call it an outlap. So Gunther's on Sky Sports right now, and he's complaining about the fact that they've gotten the the black and orange flag, aka the meatball flag, 3 times, and no one else has gotten it, and there's been no consistency with it. Um, so those who don't know, Haas basically made an appeal after the race to the fact that Alonso and Perez did not get the mechanical flag. Basically, that's what the black and orange flag is. So they didn't get meatballs, and they've gotten meatballs 3 times, and they complained, um, and they didn't apply anything for Perez, but Alonso was given a 30-second penalty hours after the race. Alpine appealed that, and with the under conditions, like, well, you guys gave this to us hours after the race, without, basically out of nowhere. And they appealed that, say, basically on the conditions, you that's not fair for us. We could have come into the pits. We could have done something, had you flown that flag. And Alpine did win. So Alonso, basically, um, so when Alonso got the 30-second penalty, it dropped him out of the points. I think he was P6. With with uh with that restored, he's now back into the points from Austin. There is another meaning for the blue flag in practice sessions, and usually because there's a car slower. I think it's to give indication of slower cars ahead of you. Um, So again, I'm Grash. I am commentating for you today because everyone else is from Europe and it's dead of night over there apparently. Um, so specifically in the United States, I'm on the East Coast and I am in Connecticut, which is New England. I am about equally distance between New York City and Boston. I'm more closer to Boston, and I've grown up in the the Boston regional area. Lived in New Hampshire, lived in Massachusetts, lived around, lived in Connecticut. Um, Maine is big and empty, and Vermont is big and hilly. That's New England for you. We are right next to New York State, where so basically, um, I'm like maybe within 2 hours of New York City, um, an hour and a half of Boston. So that to give you an idea of what's going on. Um, in terms of size, state of Massachusetts is about half the size of Switzerland. So to give you an idea of size of what we're talking about, New Hampshire is significantly bigger. So New England would be about two and a half size the size of Switzerland, maybe three times, depending on how you calculate it. So we are coming back we're about 7.5 minutes left in this session. At the top of the board, we've got Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen, all in the 124s. Um, I'm looking at Hamilton P5 with a 120, but that doesn't seem right. But a green sector one with a 28 seconds. Everyone else has been doing 29, with the exception of Ricardo with a 28.6. So Sainz setting a new fastest lap P1, a 124.575. And we have a yellow flag. I'm wondering who spun. And it is cleared up now, but I'm not sure what happened, and they haven't shown it on my stream yet. Here we go. So we're watching Gasly. Ooh. So there's a Mercedes going slow on track, which is what probably brought out the yellow. So Alpine has brought in I think Jack Doonan. Basically, they have an anomaly in his power unit data, and as precaution, they're going to bring it in to take a look at it. So we've got two of our rookies out. So we got Lawson, Sargent, and DeVries still out on still in their cars for the session. PIT is short for free practice. And we're under now 5 minutes left in the session. And pretty much everyone's on track at this point, with exception a few. Let's see who's the only one not on track is Hamilton. He's in the pits, and then obviously Doonan and Fittipaldi are out of the session. And we've got a yellow flag coming up. I'm not seeing what it is just yet. What's causing that? Okay, we've got about 1,250 of you watching right now, and that's going to bring out a red flag, unfortunately. De Vries was awesome in Monza. I mean, he jumped into that car being a replacement driver and earned points on his and earned several points on his maiden in his debut race. Um, it's why he's now going to be on the grid next year. Yeah, with only 3 minutes left and a red flag coming out, this session's most likely over at this point. I'm not sure what is going. So Jose is saying that it's a red flag for Logan Sargent. I haven't seen it happen yet on my stream. So I'm hearing two different things of what's going on with. Again, I have not seen. There we go. Problems for Lawson. His brakes. Oh wow, his brakes are on fire. So, for those of you who are still watching, I know this is probably going to be in a session. Be great if you could hit a like on your way out. We will be broadcasting free practice 2. That will take place. Let me get the time correctly for you guys. So it should be in about 2 hours after this. So about 2 hours, 2 minutes. Red flag means a suspension of the session or the race, depending on what we're talking about. So basically, everyone gets into the pits. Basically, Boston qualify. So basically, Boston is in Eastern time zone. So this session started at 2 o'clock, so about an hour ago. Yeah, this session was a bit of a mess. Practice 2 is going to be at 5 p.m. Tomorrow, practice 3 is going to be at 1 p.m. and qualification at 4 p.m. The race is going to be, it looks like at 4 p.m. on Sunday as well. Now, for FP2, basically we're going to have a tire test, so that's going to be extended another 30 minutes. Yeah, yellow is caution on the track. Yeah, well, I'm not a Beagles is more would be color commentary. I'm more like he's more a lead commentator, and where I'm more play-by-play data type stuff. I'm more like Farrell than I would say Biggles in that regards. I want to thank you guys for liking what I've done for FP1. Jumping in was very little. Jumped in at the very last minute. Thank you as well to the channel for hosting me. This was fun. Basically kind of what I do in chat, but in vocal form, minus the moderation. I did get some bots. Don't tell Farrell. And I guys, thank you. If you guys are liking this, if you haven't liked or subscribed, do so now. And FP1 has ended and people are now getting off the track. So if you look a little bit longer on your stream, you'll see that I think most of the teams are going to try and get a practice start in if people are still in their cars. So again, we are going to see FP2. It will start in about 2 hours from now. It will be a tire test. So it's going to be very weird in terms of the compounds. If it's anything like Austin, so everyone who was in this session will be on one of two compounds, and they won't know which compound it is, and they will be given basically a program from Pirelli to run. Everyone who was in this session, so like Ocon, uh, Russell, they will be given about a 45 minutes portion of that session to run on the regular tires. So you're going to see the timings for them at the top. Why another red flag? Basically, we had Lawson's car come to a halt on track, and his tires were smoking. So to get the car off track, we have to red flag the session. That's just the operating procedure. I want to thank Kinku again for another super chat. Thank you for telling me that I did great. Hey, it looks like I've earned myself a role as a commentator on the channel. So again, I might be here in FP2, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Is again, I'm filling in for a lot of people. So and don't get me wrong, I had a good great time. Top of the leaderboard again, we had Sainz, Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso in the 120s. Sainz with a 127.07, Leclerc 7.5, Perez 0.82. Yeah, and I'm not sure what is separating Max and because they had the same time of a 120.827. So I don't know if there's a fourth digit that we're not seeing. Yeah, I can't tell you why Perez is above Super Verstappen on the board. Okay, so Perez set the time first, so that's why he is ahead of Max on the board. So thank you for that clarification. All right. Again, I am Grash. I am in for everyone else today. This was my first session, and I appreciate you guys watching along with me and listening to me, and to the questions you gave in chat. This was a great time. I hope to be back at some point. Might be again FP2 if the or maybe with Farrell in FP2. We'll see what happens. Again, the session ended on a red flag because Lawson's car had a failure, something with the engine, with the not the engine, with the brakes. Where when he stopped, his brakes were smoking. So we will again we'll find out more. We'll probably have more information for you in FP2 about what happened with that particular AlphaTauri car. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys go at this point. It's 2 hours, so go get some naps, go get some food, get some drinks. I know I'm gonna need some water. I've got some iced tea next to me as well. Um, and we'll see you all back in 2 hours. All right, have a good afternoon. See you soon. This is Crash signing off.